Go. That's it. Sunflower. Welcome to the water cooler. My name's Tyler Haig. I'm joined by Mr. Mike O'Brien. I don't know.
People.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I was worried that we weren't going to be able to hear you, but Mike's here. We're good. No problem. No technical issues this week. Not on my watch. So what's up, Mike? How are you?
I'm good. You?
I'm okay. Let's talk a little bit about the Vikings. They got beat again. LA's a good team, though. What did you...
Really good.
I guess, first to recap, it was a pretty good game. Both sides played well. Vikings had a chance they were driving and had a chance to tie the game, I believe, at that point. And, of course, it didn't work. Kirk Cousins fumble, end of the game. Do you think this is total disaster? Like, should we be panicking as Vikings fans, or do you think that's a really good team and they just lost a close game? What were your impressions of that football game?
I was just happy they played better than against Buffalo, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Offense showed up, defense stayed home. Again, I don't know what to think about that.
I was going to say, are you concerned about the defense, long term?
I am.
Over this? Yeah, it's starting to not be funny anymore. It's not like one game blips. It's you said, what was the stat you had about the points over the last 6? Was that the stat?
We're giving up we're giving up 180 points last 6 games, and all of last year, regular season 16 games, we only gave up 256.
So
points.
The divisional game, the NFC Championship game, and this season so far have given up about half of the points that they gave up all of the regular season last year.
Over half. Half would be about 130 points. Or about 170-ish.
Math ain't a thing, okay? Math ain't a thing.
Yeah. It's bad. It's bad.
It is bad. Do you think that the do you think the offenses that we are playing have figured something out with the Zimmer thing? Because we'll talk a little bit. I mean, Anthony Barr was brutal, but I don't think it was all his fault. I think he was being put in a position that was unfavorable for him, on purpose by that offense.
Over and over again without any adjustment from our team. Over 3-4 times.
Yes. That's the most concerning, is it not? The most concerning portion of that game is that it kept happening. It was the same player. It was the same mismatch. And there would never seem... Well, you texted me during the game. No adjustments. If we could adjust our defense, this shouldn't be happening, right? Shouldn't they be able to, at halftime or something, figure out a way to not let that continue? Am I crazy?
I would think.
Right? You would think.
I would think. Didn't happen.
It did not happen. Anthony Barr, do you think that's a good decision to not sign him at this point? I mean, after this week, but long term, what are they going to do with dude? He doesn't seem to be good. Does he seem to be good? Are we just spoiled with a good defense?
He seems to be playing not to get injured.
That's an interesting.
No long-term deal.
Yeah.
We saw what happened to Earl Thomas yesterday.
Well, he doesn't care, though, because Barr, doesn't he have the insurance policy?
Sure, but I think he'd rather play football.
Yeah, you're probably right. And that has to be career-ending to get that money, correct?
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Or maybe not, because maybe they would just reimburse him if it was a year-long absence. The insurance would be... Well, no, because he'd be getting paid by the team if he was on IR. So, good call. You're probably right about that. Probably does have to be career-ending. Yeah, I'm concerned with the defense, a lot. If the defense is not the strength of this team, all of a sudden they look really, really, really weak to me. Because you have a bad offensive line. Or I shouldn't say bad, but you have a good at maximum capacity. The best that offensive line is capable of being is just good. And
they haven't played yet, so there's room to improve. They haven't played that yet.
Yes, I would agree with that. The defense is mediocre at best right now.
It's bottom third.
Yeah, man.
Yards, points, third downs, first downs.
And I think we're kind of seeing right now how many games you can plan on winning if your defense has trouble stopping guys, and Kirk Cousins is going to be relied on to be the guy to get you past the Did you think when he got that ball at the end of the Rams game that he was going to drive them down and score?
Yep.
Did you?
Yeah, we've been doing it all game. Neither defense could stop anybody.
I didn't have that kind of confidence. That's good to hear, though. Let's I mean, I understand why you thought that. He'd throw him for a ton of yards. He looked pretty good. But does he seem like that kind of a quarterback, that like Aaron Rodgers, where it's like, well, it's just a no-doubter. He's going to go down there. I mean, not no-doubter, obviously, but
guarantees almost that every time. Yeah. Kirk Cousins just did it a couple games before that, so.
It's true. He's been pretty good. What's your overall assessment of Cousins at this point? I mean, that's got to be
phenomenal.
A plus at this point.
He's got to cut down on the stupid fumbles. Mm-hmm. But that's O-line issues too.
I think so too. I think that's the biggest issue for this team right now. I mean, aside from the question mark on defense, obviously, but is that offensive line? Can they stay healthy? Do they have a group that can be good enough to like not lose games for them? Because that's the Bills game and the end of the Rams game is they don't lose those games if they have a good offensive line.
The Bills game was atrocious. We could have the best offensive line in football, and it was atrocious.
Well, no, see, I hear what you're saying, but I disagree because that game turned because the offensive line couldn't block, and they turned them over, got short fields like 3 times early, and all of a sudden it was 17-0.
The first fumble was on a scramble. That had nothing to do with the offensive line.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, the offensive line caused him to scramble, but he got tackled from behind and fumbled it.
Yeah, and that has to be on the quarterback. If you're moving, you have to be aware of who's around. And I'm starting to think with Cousins that, the really, really good quarterbacks have the inner clock where, like Rodgers, when he stays in the pocket for like 4 or 5 seconds, he starts to get out because he knows you can't hang out in there for that long. You have to be more decisive than that. Cousins doesn't seem to feel the pressure around him. He doesn't seem to have that clock that says get the ball out because you're about to get destroyed. Like he just gets destroyed, He's got
Sam Bradford's arm and Christian Ponder's pocket awareness.
For real, honestly. But you never see like Peyton Manning's or Tom Brady's or Aaron Rodgers. They never get lit up, That never happens.
No, it does not.
So, I don't know. Not that they don't – well, maybe they do need him to be Aaron Rodgers if their defense is going to look like this. See, this is what is worrying me. If that defense isn't the strength of the football team, then you're relying on Kirk Cousins to be that kind of a quarterback. I don't think Kirk Cousins can be that kind of quarterback. I think he can be really good.
The defense just can't be this horrible.
Yeah.
I can't give up 38. Can't give up 17, 21, 22. We can win.
Yeah.
38, no one's going to win.
No, I completely agree. And definitely not this team.
27 to the Bills, who gets shut out the next week by the Packers?
See, and what do you think about the theory that like the Everson Griffin thing played into that? Do you buy into that at all? How do you, not that it's like an excuse for like, well, I mean, if Everson Griffin wouldn't have happened, then they probably would have won. But
I think they would have been more focused.
I don't think real, but how else can you explain something like that? That was such a monumental collapse on like in every facet of the game. Yeah. They were bad.
Every single facet.
Oh,
offense. I don't get the offense. I don't get the offense in that game, but the offense should have been fine.
You'd think so. Well, and DiFilippo has this habit of like they play poorly and he comes out and is like, I got to be better. I like had bad play calls. Like, don't say that, dude. Like, fix it, but like, don't admit that you're bad at your job. Like, come on, man.
We're passing 73% of the time.
That's outrageous. It's outrageous.
I think we had 4 carries in that Buffalo game. 4 rush plays in that entire Buffalo game. Yeah, 4, I believe.
Adrian Peterson was like 5th in the league in rushing, like going into this week. Like, what is happening in the world right now? Dalvin Cook is like hamstring still is an issue for him.
We can't run.
No, and I love Latavius Murray, and I think he's great as like a secondary option or like a complementary piece. But if you don't have a really decent running back in there, I don't know if that offense works the way it is right now. Because you're lining up with like you're relying on Laquan Treadwell to catch the ball. Otherwise,
he did okay last game. He did okay last game. He dropped 1. Otherwise, he caught everything else.
I mean, his job is to catch the ball.
Move on. Julio Jones, I think.
After one
Julio
game,
Jones,
you're
I
just
think,
going
led
to
the league in
announce
drop
that.
passes last year. So Julio Jones led the league in drop passes last year, I believe.
Dude,
if not, he was definitely top 2 or 3. And that's Julio Jones.
If you want to compare Laquan Treadwell
I'm not.
to Julio Jones,
I'm just saying a couple drop balls
on
is
you.
not the end of the world. Settle down. Why don't you talk about something you know more about, like the kicker?
Dude, I can't even begin. Laquan Treadwell hasn't just dropped a couple balls. He's been really bad since he was drafted. It's way worse than what you're saying. Way worse.
First of all, he's actually gotten better since he was drafted because he's actually catching balls.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, at least he's on the field, I guess. He's just, silver lining.
He needs more reps.
Oh, God. How many? Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm
joking, obviously. He needs to get better at catching the ball, but he's not as bad as you're stating.
No, you're right. And he needs... Now it's more important than ever. If the defense is not going to be great, he has to be good. Because they're not going to be able to throw the ball to Thielen and Diggs the whole season. They're going to have to mix in some other players. And if Dalvin Cook is going to be out, Latavius Murray is okay, but he ain't, great. And then you're talking about Kyle Rudolph, who catches the ball and falls down, and then
I got a great idea for our third wide receiver.
Who's that?
We trade our second-round pick.
Oh, no.
And Dalvin Cook to Pittsburgh for Le'Veon Bell. Boom, we got our third wide receiver. They said they'll take a second-round pick and a good player back for Le'Veon Bell.
You're kidding.
Nope. I think Dalvin Cook qualifies as a good player.
I would agree with that. He definitely qualifies as a good player. I don't know if I would want to trade Dalvin Cook. Dude, he's injury-prone now, though, right? Wouldn't he be?
It's hypothetical. I mean, you'd have to pay Le'Veon Bell about $20 million a year.
Yeah, you sure would. And that kind of goes against the the two guys having like a quarter of your payroll. Hard to fill out the rest of your roster when you got Kirk Cousins and Bell making all that money. Man, do you think he winds? I mean, he's definitely not going to end up in Pittsburgh after this. But do you think Bell comes back this season and plays at the end? Because he has to play, right?
It just came out that he's reporting week 7 after their bye.
Oh, you're kidding?
Or their bye week. He's reporting. Yep.
When did that come out? Earlier,
I just read it about half hour ago.
Well, that's interesting. Well, let's talk about that for a little bit. So, Bell's holding out, wants a new deal, doesn't want to get hurt.
Yep.
Seahawks dude, whose name I'm totally blanking on, Earl
Thomas,
just did the same thing but came back because they made him feel guilty. And now his leg is broken and he's not going to play anymore. Or, for the next while. If you were in that position, if you had been underpaid for like 3 or 4 years, Bell isn't underpaid though, so maybe we shouldn't quantify it that way. Maybe we shouldn't.
He's at like $15 million on the franchise.
Are you on Earl Thomas's side here, or are you on the Seahawks management side here? What side do you land on this whole thing? Do you think players should?
How poorly was he underpaid?
I don't know the answer to that. I can't imagine it was all that bad, but that being said, market value for guys now, every year that goes up, So every year there are underpaid dudes.
Yeah.
But
not as good as him, though.
No, and that's what I think he is underpaid. I want to say $5 million, but I have no idea where that number's coming from. I feel like I read it about Earl Thomas. I don't know that to be fact. But with Bell you can argue because he's been getting paid, as with the franchise tag. I understand why they feel disrespected by it, but that's as good of money as you're going to make in the NFL on a yearly basis. Kirk Cousins is rich because of the franchise tag.
What is Harry the Hitman's contract,
I can't remember. When did he sign it? That was like 3 years ago?
So we got 2015, he made 7.4. 2016, this is Earl Thomas, made 9.9. 2017, 10.4. And 2018, 10.4.
So he's upset that he's making $10 million.
For safety, I believe that's okay. I mean, I don't know all the safety numbers.
Here, let me. I'll try and look it up on this one. The $10 million for a safety. I don't know what the going rate is, but when the quarterbacks, let me rephrase this. I think the issue here is these guys are trying, like Bell. He's trying to get paid like running backs used to get paid, and comparable to what quarterbacks are getting paid now.
Yeah,
that I think is maybe a little too much for people. Front offices in the NFL to handle. when you can literally find a starter. Like, what was Kamara? He was drafted in like the 6th round, Kamara was, for New Orleans?
Maybe a little higher than that.
But you get my point. It's like 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks you can get to be your starting running back. You don't have to pay him like that. You can replace him. Is Bell better than those guys? I think so. But when you can get a couple of guys to fill that spot for half the money, a third of the money, a quarter of the money in some cases.
He's getting the same money as Harrison Smith, who's I consider one of the better safeties in football.
And I think they both signed those deals like close. I think they signed them around the same time, didn't they? Weren't they benchmarking off of each other? I thought the Vikings gave Hitman that deal because of what?
Earl was, I think, a year before.
Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah, but Harry's at 10, 10.7, 10.7, 10.7.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me, base salary. Yeah.
Yeah, and that would make sense.
It actually goes down in 2021. It's 10.2.
Dude, that's Brzezinski. That's what he does. He plays the system, man. That guy, he's all over.
It's comparable. Plus, he's 30-year-old safety. I don't know how much he was expecting to get, but
yeah. And so here he is. He decides to play because he's under contract. Doesn't want to hold out anymore. Plays, gets injured. Now definitely isn't going to get a contract extension from Seattle. Well, he also flipped off like the sideline. That's maybe a separate portion.
Yeah, the coach is defending him.
Carroll is?
Yes, it comes slack. Yep.
I didn't see it, but I'm sure he's frustrated. Was that the quote? I love it. You know, Bell, I think I have more of an issue with because he's getting paid more. Is that the wrong way to look at this? Is that kind of like screw them because they're millionaires, you know? The way some people took kind of the Everson Griffin thing is like, you can't feel bad for him because they make a lot of money. It's like, well, still
Bell
people.
did say when they offered him the $7 million deal with only like $20 million guaranteed, which is what pissed him off. He said that's monopoly money. How dare you?
Interesting.
Call it monopoly money, yeah. I think he just wants more guaranteed. I don't think he liked the 20-some guaranteed. I think he wants 30 or 40.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, to be paid way more than that. Do you think that do you think running backs should be paid on the same level as starting quarterbacks? Like, in general?
No.
I don't think so either.
I don't think they are. They make about half the money.
But that's what I'm saying. And so for him to, like, try and push that money when you can replace it, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And especially with the franchise tag, man, I just can't. I have a tough time siding with Bell. I totally understand why he's doing what he's doing. And I probably would make the same decision if I were in his position. But it's hard to feel bad for a guy that's made that much money. But again, I don't know if I think that's the wrong way to think. I think I got to change my brain.
And Pittsburgh already said they're going to transition him next year at 17, but he can negotiate with other teams.
Sheesh, man.
So they're not ready to sign him at all. They want him to go look at his market value. They'll still own his rights, and he can go negotiate to see what he can get paid or sign the transition tag at $17 million.
So that would be. So could he leave then, negotiate with the team, and be like this, like a restricted free agent kind of a situation, like in the NBA, where you tender an offer to him, and if they don't match, you get him?
I'm not sure how transition works. I wonder if they can match.
Yeah, you would think so.
Or maybe they did a second-round tender or first-round tender on him or something.
Oh, I bet you're right. I bet that's what because then you transition him, and then that gives you the thing back. Okay, I bet you're right there. Man, I can't believe I just don't know. It's like having somebody in your band who doesn't want to play music. I just don't understand why you would want a guy who doesn't want to be there. Why would you force him to be there? Isn't that going to disrupt everything that you're trying to do as the Steelers? Like transition tag? That just doesn't make any sense.
Either. I mean, he had to come back at week 10 at the latest to qualify for his year of service.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, though. And next year, if you transition tag him, what's he going to do? Like the same thing, right?
I think he sat out to week 7 because he didn't want another 400 carry year.
Yeah.
He wanted to put that workload on his body, so that's why he chose week 7. Half the year left, only get 250 touches.
I mean, it's hard to argue with the way he's going about his business, given how injuries happen in the NFL. I mean, I think it's like a smart play by him. But I can't help but feel like, screw that.
He must have been good with his money because most players won't won't give up those $1 million game checks.
That's what I was just going to say. And he's giving up so much money to sit and not play. That's the crazy.
Like $900,000 a game, I think, something like that.
Man, oh man. But I suppose when you're looking for, $40 million guaranteed, it's like Monopoly money.
I was estimating at that. I think he turned down like 25 guaranteed $70 million deal.
I think you're right. Yeah. I think you're right. And I think that was his big thing, was the guaranteed dollars, because he wanted to, I don't know, maybe I'm making that up. But, okay, so done talking about Bell. Bummer Earl Thomas. Sorry you got hurt. Somebody will pay him, though, right, when he gets back? Maybe the Vikings. Who knows?
I think he was on the border of being traded before this happened.
No, he was. I was hearing rumors that he was going to the Chiefs. They were just, finalizing, paperwork stuff. And
2 second-round picks. Yep.
Man, that's brutal. Okay, so back to the Vikings and their terrible situation. So they now are at 1-3-1, I believe. Or no, scratch that. 1-2-1. And if they lose to Philadelphia, they will be 1-3-1.
Not happening.
So here's...
Mark it down.
Mark it down.
All the bettors out there take Vikings to cover the spread.
Maybe not win, but cover.
Yep.
So if the Vikings lose and they're 1-3-1, 1-3-1, how many wins do you think it will take to get into the playoffs this year? You got to think 9, 10, probably 10?
10 minimum, yep.
So then here was, I know you, don't swear when I bring this up now. There's a certain radio personality on a certain sports leader who made the point earlier today that in order for them to get to 10 wins, they will have to go 9-2 over there from now until the end of the season in order to pull that off.
Yep.
They have New Orleans on the schedule, and they have the New England Patriots on their schedule.
Patriots on the road scares me, but the team itself does not scare me.
Yeah.
We can beat the Patriots. Be tough on the road. I'd rather be at home, obviously, but we got Eagles, Cardinals, Jets.
Cardinals should be a win. Jets
2-1 minimum.
That's what we were saying about the Buffalo Bills, man.
Throwing it off the board.
No one can be trusted.
It didn't happen to me. It did not happen.
That game never occurred.
Circumstances beyond their control. I don't know what happened. Full moon. I don't know what happened. That's out the door.
Cursed.
And then we got the Saints. That's an iffy game. It's at our house, though.
Yeah, home helps.
The Lions at home, we roll.
I don't know, dude. Lions beat
Patriots.
Yeah,
we roll.
Who did they just get beat by this past week? They lost on...
Game-winning field goal.
God, who was it? I can't remember. Lions are the Lions, man. I don't know. Okay. So in order for...
They lost to Dallas, the ratty Dallas Cowboys.
So in order for the Vikings to get into the playoffs, we're probably assuming 10 wins.
That's if we lose to the Eagles?
Yeah, if they lose to the Eagles, because it would be 1-3-1, so that's 5, 9-2, 11, 16. Oh. Yes. Yep.
9-6-1 with that tie we have. Could be an interesting tiebreaker if we got to 9-6-1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they could still make. Yeah, we should say 9 because of the tie. I think
maybe
9
a wild card
would get them in.
At 9-6-1. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just going to run down this. Eagles. I'm saying win.
Okay.
Because our defense is.
Well, for the sake of the argument, for the sake of the argument, let's say Eagles is a loss, so that it's 1-3-1, and then they have to lose 2 games.
Cardinals win.
Cardinals win. I agree. Jets
win. They're again. I'm ignoring the Buffalo Bills game. They're horrible. Saints. I'm going to say that's one of our losses.
Okay.
Lions win. At the Bears, win. That'll be a tough one, though, but I think we'll squeak it out.
And
we'll beat the Packers out. I'm going to say we beat the Patriots.
Okay. All right. Continue.
But we lose to the Seahawks the next week. It's at Seattle. Tough place to play. Definitely. We'll beat the Dolphins at home. We'll beat the Lions on their house, and we'll beat the Bears at home.
I think the Bears are better than people think. I don't think Trubisky's that good, but, man, that Khalil Mack is for real.
He doesn't throw the ball, though.
That's true.
Just like the Vikings 27-6 over the Bills, I'm throwing out the 48, whatever it was, to Tampa.
Okay.
The guy's not throwing 6 touchdowns the rest of the season.
No, I mean that's and the Tampa Bay is in like they're going through some stuff right now with Fitzmagic playing well and then getting pulled and then halftime, and I don't think Winston's that good, and he came in and threw a couple of picks and all of a sudden it was, I mean, that's a ridiculous football game. I don't think Trubisky's that good.
He's good. He's okay. He's Keenum.
I think he could be. Oh, Keenum. That's fair. I mean, I guess at maximum
that's all he has to
capacity,
be
he's not
that
Keenum
defense.
Yet, but he could be Keenum someday. He's Keenum.
He throws it better.
He's
You're right.
St.
He throws
he's
it
St.
better.
Louis Rams Keenum right now.
He throws it better.
He could be 2017 Vikings Keenum someday if he's lucky.
He's got the deep work. Dalvin Cook has 98 rush yards on the season. You know that?
Yeah. No, I had
36 carries for 98 yards.
That's pretty impressive. How many games? He's missed like 2 games, hasn't he?
Say that again.
Hasn't he missed 2 games? He missed
one game.
One, and then was out for half.
36 carries on 98 yards. First of all, the 36 carries in 3 games is horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
Should be at 90. Well, that's a little high.
Yeah, I was going to say that might be 25. A little wear and tear on the
maybe 90 touches with the receiving.
Yeah. Yeah, 90 touches, but not 90 rushes. I would agree with that completely.
Adam Thielen is on pace to shatter every record in the NFL for receiving. Targets, receptions,
he's
maybe
been
not yards. But
do you think the Vikings make the playoffs? Do you think even though they're starting 1-2, 1-3, and 1 possibly, you think they're going to beat the Eagles? I don't know if they're going to beat the Eagles in Philadelphia.
I think they're going to beat the Eagles because
the Eagles aren't looking that great.
No, they're looking all right. I mean, they just lost to Tennessee on the road. It'll be Wentz's 3rd game back. He's still not quite trusting that knee. You could tell by watching. But no, the defense is going to step up. They're going to have one of those games. I could tell. They're going to be pissed off. They got embarrassed 2 weeks in a row.
I was going to say they should be pissed off, man. They've been awful.
There might be some late hits on the old quarterback. They're going to be so pissed off.
Oh, let's not.
Not on purpose.
Oh,
just overamped.
Well, great. Now you jinxed it, and now there's going to be a million flags. It's going to be like Clay Matthews out there. It's going to be horrible. Thanks, Mike.
He didn't get one last week. No, I'm just saying. I don't think they're.
He didn't get one last week.
Back.
Oh, is he figuring it out, or did he just not get? Oh, they whomped. That game was over. He didn't have an opportunity.
He only gets the quarterback like once every 4 games anyway. So what does it really matter?
Yeah. How do you think that has been going with the new rules and the stuff? Do you see it like changing? Is it messing the game up for you? Is it bothering you when you're watching these football games? I haven't even really noticed it, to be honest.
No, it's just like the players, the refs have to go through an adjustment too.
Yeah.
They're figuring it out.
Yeah.
I think there was less calls this week or this weekend.
I was listening to Fox Sports Radio, and I think it was Doug Gottlieb. He revealed that it was basically there's like 17 ref crews in the NFL. Half of those penalties were being called by 3 crews, 3 officiating crews.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that was what he said. I assume he's right because he's on the radio.
I did not know that.
Yeah, but I don't know. How do you get those guys? If you've told them that it's supposed to be a point of emphasis, and you got 3 groups keeping it as a point of emphasis, do you think they could fix that, or do you think everybody's going to get? I think they could fix that. 3 teams, 3 crews. I feel like that is fixable.
Yeah, why not?
Maybe we're overblowing this whole thing. Maybe Sports Talk Radio was making too big of a deal out of it, and it was just a couple of refs that were throwing these flags.
No, people don't go overboard on the radio at all.
God, and not about the NFL. Definitely not about the NFL.
No.
Absolutely not. Do you want to talk about the anthem? Kidding. I'm kidding. Let's not do that. Kidding.
What about it?
Nothing.
I think 4 kneels. Did you see what the Packers put on the field?
No.
Yesterday?
It
was some abstract flag. It had one really thick red line, one really thick white line, one really thick blue line with about 20 stars in it. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Are you kidding me? Like, not the American flag? There's like a new...
It was some kind of new rendition.
Here's our new cool version.
Didn't have 13 stripes. Didn't have the 50 stars. I don't know what the heck was going on.
That's what we've been needing. This country doesn't need like a new like electoral college. No. We just need a rebrand. Come up with a new logo. Let's come up with like, instead of like Land of the Free and Home of the Brave, we could change that. We could come up with something new, something like hip. It could be like #freedom or
It was brought out during the national anthem. It was really weird. Some fans were going, "Okay, do we take our hats off for this? We don't know what the heck's going on here.
Should we be respecting
do we take our cheese heads off our head? Or what do we do?"
Those cheese heads, what an unbelievable product to like sell with like a ton of frequency. Oh, this is my like foam cheese hat. It's unbelievable.
I'm sure they get beer spilt on them every freaking time they got to buy new ones.
Do you think that those soak up beer, or do you think that you could drink beer out of them? These are, I mean, we should get, there's got to be a Packer fan somewhere that we know that we could ask these questions to. I think
they'd make good seat cushions, considering they have bleachers in their stadium.
Yeah, that's a good call. They do, and it's cold, so it probably would protect your hindquarters from the cold aluminum bleachers that they use in Green Bay.
Yeah. Think about all those shares they sell that could afford seats with backs in them.
Right? You would think so. Or you'd think with all those shares they sold that they would be able to afford people, like a crew, to come out and shovel the stadium before the games. But they just let the owners do that. Come on in, guys.
Come on in. You're working for free.
I have never understood that. No, it's so great we get to go into Lambeau. It's like, well, you're shoveling.
It's like self-checkout in Cub Foods. For 5 minutes, you work for Cub.
It's a trick.
They conned you into working. Come in here, you do all the shopping, you check it all out, you give us the money, and you leave. We just got you to work for us for 5 minutes.
100%. Oh, you want us to pay for a bad guy? No, that's cool. You can do it. Just put it in the bag. It's right there. The screen will tell you. Place it in the bag. You won't be able to go.
Meanwhile, people think this is the greatest invention forever. Well, everyone that walks in there works for damn Cub now.
It's a con. The whole thing is a con. Oh, my God. My mind is blown. Man, that sucks. I'm never going to be able to go through that self-checkout the same way. So do you think the Vikings are going to make the playoffs? I'm not so sure. I don't know.
I do.
9.5. Yeah. How many? So they would have to win. They would have to lose 4 games to basically be out of playoff contention. That would be difficult for them to do. But it's also difficult to lose to a team that you're favored by 17 points on at home.
First of all, 16.5.
But they managed 16.5.
What game was that? I don't recollect that game.
That game never happened. No. Even if that game, okay, let's do that. That game never happened. I still am concerned.
Aberration.
There's an aberration.
I'm slightly concerned for the defense. We'll see how they play against Philly. They come out and lay another egg, and all bets are off.
Philly will be a good test. You would think with DiFilippo, knowing what they are trying to run and the way that they run their offense, that they would be able to take advantage of some things that maybe some other teams would not be able to take advantage of. But as the season keeps going, Mike, I am not as convinced that DiFilippo is like the wonder child that we were led to believe he was. He was supposed to be one stop and then going to be a head coach.
Let's see, 24 the first game, 29 the first game. Like I said, third game don't count, 31. I mean, he's putting up points. We're averaging roughly 27, 28 points a game.
If you take, if you take out the one. Okay, yeah. And
fine, you throw in that one, and we're down to about 22, 23, where we're at last year.
Yeah, but he also hasn't run the ball, like, at all. You said that before.
No, well, the best we ran the ball was in the first game. We were up, Packers were down, Bills were getting slaughtered, and Rams, it was a shootout. We couldn't run the ball, so he really hasn't had a chance to establish.
And the 4 rushes or whatever it was in the Buffalo game was purely out of necessity. That wasn't a game plan thing. That was, we have to throw the ball because we're going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
So they're going to make the playoffs. So let's talk a little bit about the playoff picture. I mean, I know it's early and whatever, but NFC North. Chicago currently leads the division. Not what we thought was going to happen.
No.
But they do. Chicago, Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit. Minnesota and Detroit have the same record.
No, we're a half game up because of the tie.
Oh, God, that tie has thrown me for a loop, dude. That's that actually will. You're totally right. That will come into play when these playoffs start happening. And I bet they get a better position because of it, which is ridiculous. Because if you watch that game, they shouldn't be rewarded for anything about that game.
Speaking of that, did you see the Colts in Houston yesterday?
Oh, yeah. Going for it on fourth down there?
On their own side of the like right around the 50 or forget that, they were on like the 42.
Yeah, they were on like their own 40. And then was that in overtime or just late in the game?
It was in overtime, and Luck came out and said, yeah, we don't want to play for the tie. And I go, I was yelling on my TV, okay, so you just give the game away then?
Yeah.
So you just give the game away. You didn't want to tie, so you'd rather have the loss.
I mean,
it was like
I understand
4th and 3.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Not on your own 40, not in overtime, and not 3 yards. Those are 3 reasons that you should not have done it.
Yeah.
I understand wanting to get the win. I get that part. I like thinking differently. But if you're the only one that's doing that thing, there's a reason you're the only one doing that thing, and it's because it doesn't work well enough to do it with any regularity.
If you're going to go for it on 4th and 3, okay, because you don't want to tie, why don't you line up your kicker for a 59 or 60-yard field goal and just have him try to kick it then? You lose 7 yards of yardage at that point.
I mean, fair. But he's not going to make the kick. And you can maybe make the 3 yards, though. Like, I get that part of it. And you have Andrew Luck.
You might make the 59-yarder. Why not? I think his career long was 57 or 58.
No, because that would be the opposite. You're talking about like an 80-yard
No, he was on Houston's 40-yard. They were on the other side of the 50. They were closer.
Oh, what? Yes. I thought they were on their own 40. Oh, no. I got no problem with it. No problem whatsoever.
No, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I got that backward.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
My bad.
Okay. If they're on, I was going to say, then I got no problem.
No, I got you.
Your own 40, yeah. So a field goal there would be, so that's 40, 50 would be 60, 70. Yep. That would be a 78-yard field goal.
Yeah, my bad. Because when the ball was flipped, Houston only had like 20 yards to go for a field goal.
Yeah, 100%. No, so, I mean, that makes sense. I understand why you went for it. Would you have gone for it if you have Andrew Luck? Andrew Luck, to me, is the thing that I could justify it if I had Andrew Luck as my quarterback. 4th and 3? Yeah, buddy, because Andrew Luck is throwing the ball. Why wouldn't you?
No, I'm not going for it. There was like 2.5 minutes left. Just go for the tie.
I agree with you. And especially on your own 40, man, because that's the thing is if you don't make it, you're giving them the game. And you can't do that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do that because that's a loss. I don't know. See, that's going to be so – they're going to have a tough time making the playoffs, Indianapolis, even though they have Andrew Luck and whatever. But it's going to be hard for them to win enough games to make that happen. So, like, I get the desperation. I get the, like, we don't want to tie here. But, like, come on, man. You can't just, like, give them a win, which is basically what they did. And that's a Houston team that really, really needs that. You know, that can help them make the playoffs because they're in the same boat. It's a razor, you know, there's no margin for error for them either.
No, I'm looking at the standings right here. They're both 1 and 3.
Houston and Indy.
Yeah.
Who is atop that division right now?
Tennessee and Jacksonville are tied 3 and 1.
I don't believe in Tennessee at all. I don't think they're as good as their record would indicate. Although they did just beat the Eagles, I don't think they're that good. Don't they have a brand new? Isn't Vrabel their head coach?
No, yeah.
I think he is. Yeah, and I think he's brand spanking new. And I don't think he's ever been a coach before. I just see a lot of fool's gold there. I'm skeptical of that. I like Mariota, but I don't know how good. I don't know if he can lead a team to the playoffs by himself.
That's Jacksonville's division to win.
It's true. Jacksonville has to regress, though, right? There's no way they can play that.
Well, their defense is still on point, boy.
I mean, it is, but
Bortles has looked like he's getting better and better.
See, Bortles is a problem for that team. They must see something in him on a daily basis that leads them to believe that he can turn the corner at some point. Because
$15 million for a starting quarterback. He's got a QBR of 62.9.
Jesus.
That's about 8 behind Cousins at 71.
How long man, that kid has been in the league forever, it feels like. And he just has never really, I mean, they made it, pretty deep in the playoffs and were pretty good last year, but like he has just not ever had a performance, a game that I can remember where it's like, man, that Bortles, he's tough.
Aaron Rodgers is hurt.
Excuse me?
I'll put this in quotes. Aaron Rodgers is hurt, but he has a Bortles has a better QBR than Rodgers, thrown for the same yards and same touchdowns.
Excuse me?
Blake Bortles. Yeah, Blake Bortles.
This season?
This season, right now. I'm looking right at it. Aaron Rodgers' QBR is 49.2.
That's fake news.
That's not fake news.
I don't believe that for a second.
It's not fake. 1,130 yards, 7 touchdowns. Bortles is... Tick-tock.
Yeah, God, takes
forever. Got 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns with a QBR of 62.9. Now, I know Rodgers is hurt. That has something to do with it. He can't do the playground plays, but still. I'm telling you, Bortles not that bad.
No. Well, or at least hasn't been for the first.
He's Case Keenum with a good arm.
I think that gives him too much. I think that gives him too much credit. I think Case Keenum is better than Blake Bortles, personally.
Because he did it for 12 games.
No, because Blake Bortles hasn't done anything. Case Keenum was there, yes, because of the defense, but Case Keenum did everything he was supposed to do and didn't turn the ball over. I feel like Blake Bortles was like more a thorn in the side of his team than Case Keenum was last year.
I will give you the first few games. That is true. He finished with, where am I at here? 2017 stats. There we go. What do you think?
I have to think.
How many touchdowns did Case have?
Oh, God. I can't
21?
remember.
Something like that? 21, 22?
Was it? Honestly, I cannot remember how many he had. How many? Well, no. Here's what, because that shouldn't count, because Blake Bortles started all 16 of those games, and Case Keenum was getting flippy flop for Sammy Bradford for a game or two or three or.
He didn't play the first. Came in the second. Played in the second half of the third, and then it was the rest. So you're talking about a game and a half.
Well, I mean, with Case Keenum, man, you never know. That can be 4 touchdowns, bro. Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Maybe not 4, but you get what I'm saying. I don't know. I would have. Well, here's the way I would look at it. If you have one game to win, if you do not win this football game, you are going to be murdered.
I got to choose between Bortles and Keenum?
Yes, and you have to pick between Bortles and Keenum. Who is the guy you go with? For me, it's Keenum, and it's such an easy choice. It's not even close.
Oh, man.
Dude, we should write that down. That's a great way to compare quarterbacks.
I almost want to say Bortles just because of the way they played in their respective championship games.
I mean, yeah, okay. Yeah, you said championship games. I can't argue with that. I mean, that's a 1-game sample, though, Mike. Come on.
For both of them.
Yeah, well, yeah. Then it was a really bad game for Case Keenum and an okay game for Bortles, and I don't think that's how he should be graded. I think he should.
Okay, well, if you want to change the rules on it, that's fine. If you're going to force me to say Keenum, I will, just to be the freaking homer. That's fine.
That's what I was just going to say.
Trying to be objective.
No, we're going to change all the rules so that there's no choice and it has to be Keenum. That's all we're doing.
If you were picking a quarterback that was under 6'1", and between Bortles and Keenum, who would it be? Well, Bortles is 6'5". Okay, so Keenum
So Keenum it is. Duh. See? Yeah. So I was right. You admit it. Boom. Yeah, I don't know. Let's play that game more. If you lose the game, you get murdered. Kirk Cousins or Case Keenum or Teddy Bridgewater.
Ooh, I like Bridgewater, but Cousins.
Yeah, me too.
He could throw you out of a deficit. Yeah. Neither one of those two guys could do that.
That's true, yeah. If the game gets, if it's lopsided early, Teddy's got no shot. Who else? What would be another one? Let's do some old school ones. John Elway or Dan Marino. I mean, you really don't have a bad option there. That's not as fun.
Elway. He won.
Yeah. That's a fair point. Poor Dan Marino. So here, real quick, on the Dan Marino and John Elway and Jim Kelly, and I feel like there was another one, but they were like, ESPN has done the 30 for 30s on that quarterback draft class and all this stuff. And the only
Who was the fourth one?
Who was the fourth one? Dan Marino.
It was 4.
John Elway. Jim Kelly. Here, let me. Who else was there forever, played forever?
Aikman?
No, because he was later. That's going to kill me.
I can't think of it. People are yelling at their radio.
I know.
The person listening
screaming.
Is yelling at his radio right now. Sorry, fans. We'll get our act together next time.
We'll figure
Bring
it
a buddy
out
next time.
But the point I'm trying to make is the only one that won a Super Bowl out of any of that, I learned this from Jim Kelly's speech at the ESPYs. The only quarterback that won anything was John Elway. He was the only one that won a championship out of that whole group. Because they all went, but they all lost. Jim Kelly lost a bunch of times. Dan Marino, I think, lost twice, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Yeah, but he was...
No, Dan Marino only lost once. He made it his second year, never made it back, I'm pretty sure.
God, could you imagine? How frustrating.
I'm trying to look this up. It's driving me insane.
Was it 83 draft class? See, that's part of the problem is I can't even remember what year it was.
83.
Yeah, there are people screaming.
Elway was number 1.
Yes. But it was...
Todd Blackledge?
Was that
He was the second one taken off the board. No, it was someone else. Jim Kelly, Tony Eason, Ken O'Brien, Dan Marino. Who the hell was it? I thought it was 4.
Who was the guy that played quarterback for the Seahawks for all those years? Was it him? Eric Dickerson, Jim Kelly, John Elway, Dan Marino, Darryl Green. Notable undrafted players. Nothing, man. Okay, so maybe it was just those 3 that were really good.
Maybe it was.
Maybe we're making that up. But anyways, yeah, none of those guys except Elway won a championship. And he wouldn't have even won those championships, those Super Bowls, if it weren't for having the best running back in football at that point.
Terrell Davis?
Yeah, man, he was tough.
I think he was just really good the 1 year, right?
No, he was good for 3 or 4 years because he went over 2,000 yards.
2,000 yards.
Yeah. But there was a 3-4 year, because they won 2 Super Bowls. Wasn't it in back-to-back years?
Yep.
And I think
he was... Dan Marino they talked him out of retire, or not Dan, they talked John Elway out of retiring. He was done retired.
And then came back and won another Super Bowl. What a time to be alive. John Elway or Peyton Manning? It's been so long with John Elway, though. I feel like I've not given him enough credit. I'd go with Peyton Manning, but I feel like it's just because John Elway hasn't played in a long time.
That's the time I watched John Elway play. Especially in 98 when the Vikings should have played him.
Yeah, no kidding. Which one of those quarterbacks was your favorite to watch? Like when we were younger, when we were growing up? Like the Steve Youngs, the John Elways, the Dan Marinos, the Jim Kelly, Troy Aikman, all those guys. Which one of those QBs
was not Troy Aikman? Something about throwing for 2,500 yards and 20 touchdowns just didn't really get me going. I'll go Dan Marino because he just slang it.
Yeah, that's true. And basically, invented the fake spike touchdown.
Which is now, I think, outlawed. I think you can't do that.
What? You can't fake... No.
What is it? Is it oh, no, maybe you can't fake kneel.
Oh, yeah, I bet that is because they don't want you to... Yeah, that would make sense.
Riddle me this, though. How is a spiking to stop the clock not intentional grounding?
I've wondered that myself. I think they're like, yeah, okay, you can do that. That's fine. But here's my question, and I used to, when I was playing football, I used to so we would have to spike the ball, right? And I would, for whatever reason, I would take a step back and kind of turn to my right as I did it, making it nearly a sideways or lateral fumble situation.
Why would you do that?
I didn't mean to. It just always happened. But my coach was freaking out. I was like, well, they're not going to care because we're spiking it. He's like, no, they'll call it a fumble. It's like, well, why is it not intentional grounding? That was my argument. Why would that be a fumble, but intentional grounding, we'll just ignore that. I thought it was garbage.
I don't think they'd call it.
I don't think so either. I think they would look funny, and I think they would be like, hey, don't do that again because I'm going to call it a fumble because it looked weird. But I don't think they would call it a fumble on the field, especially not in a high school game. But in the NFL, do you think they would call it if a guy spiked the ball turned backwards?
No, but I think last I can't remember the game on Sunday. Whoever the quarterback was didn't spike it quick enough, and they called intentional grounding because he didn't do it right away. He kind of faked it and then did it, and it was intentional grounding.
No, oh no, kidding. Interesting.
I think it wasn't Stafford. I can't remember who the heck it was.
Those plays are goofy, and you can, because they were so unspoken for so long, and now you're doing stuff like, the fake spike and the throw and the fake kneel and that complicates things, and that kind of stuff can get dangerous. There's a team that's going to lose a game because of a play like that. I love those plays. It's like
Did Joey Browner, is he in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know the answer to that.
Because we got him with the 19th pick in '83. Passed on Dan Marino. Go figure.
Shut up. The Vikings passed on. Who did they have at that?
Dan Marino didn't go till 27th. Pick.
Weird.
There was only 28 teams back then. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. He was almost not even in the first round. Nuts.
No.
Well, and if I'm not
was drafted 28th. Wow.
And if I'm not mistaken, Jim Kelly was playing. He got drafted by Buffalo, but went and played 2 seasons or 1 season, however many seasons that USHL.
He did.
Yeah, he started in the other league. So did Steve Young and Herschel Walker, and
he played for the Houston. Played for the Houston Gamblers for 2 seasons.
Gamblers. Yup. See, it's a steel trap in my brain. Bub.
His first year at the Houston Gamblers, he threw 44 touchdowns, 5,200 yards.
Yeah, have you never seen that documentary, the Small Potatoes documentary? The UHSL, whatever that league was called? Donald Trump was one of the owners of one of the teams, and he's interviewed at length, man. It's really interesting. Trump basically ran it into the ground is the way the documentary presents it.
That's not a shocker.
That's fake news.
No, I said that's not a shocker.
No, I know, but you should have said fake news because that would have been funny. Trump, come on, man. Give me a break.
Oh, wow.
Is that my third time using fake news? All right, that's out loud. I'll never say it again. That is...
What years did they go to the Super Bowl? 89, 90, 91, 92? Does that sound right?
The Bills?
Yeah.
89, 90, 91, 92. Yeah, that would make sense.
Jim Kelly's a Hall of Famer?
Yes, he is.
He never threw for 4,000 yards once in his career.
Yeah, but that was when people didn't throw for 4,000. At that point, the only person that had thrown for 4,000 yards was...
Dan Marino?
Dan Marino, yeah, and he held that record.
Elway did it.
He held that record forever. Because that was Drew Brees broke that? Question mark?
He had 1, 2, 3 years of less than 3,000.
Well, that's a different era, though. Go look up...
I'm going to look up Dan Marino right now.
No, look up Staubach or somebody. Like those. Look at how bad those stats are.
I'm looking
those
at Dan Marino right now because this is the same era.
Yeah, he was the bomb, dude. He statistically was like far and away the best out of all those guys. And he held that record, the most passing yards thrown in a season for until... That was under 5 years ago, I think that was broken. Maybe it was longer ago.
Dan Marino in '84 threw for 5,000.
Jesus.
Well, he didn't. He only did it 1, 2, 3, 4. He did it 5 times.
And it was probably out of necessity because they had nothing else because they were.
That was the year they went to the Super Bowl. He threw 5,000 yards and 48 touchdowns.
Wow, man, that's crazy to throw for that many yards.
Yeah.
At that point.
That's nuts.
And I bet not a single one was thrown out of the shotgun formation because they didn't have it yet.
Interesting.
I should look up when the shotgun formation was invented because that's probably,
you might be
that's probably inaccurate.
What? You're talking out of your what.
All right. So who else is making the playoffs out of the NFC? Mike the Oracle. Find your crystal ball.
4 games?
Find your crystal ball. Yep, after 4 games. We're going to predict.
Seed them too?
We're going to come back. Well, I mean, you don't have to do the seeding, but I'm going to write this down and we're going to come back and look at it.
Rams are in?
Yeah, I think that's...
Saints are in?
Rams, Saints.
And Eagles. I'm going to say those are the division winners so far. And I'll say that's a tough call. I'm going to say the Packers are going to win our division, though.
Ooh. You're probably right.
Wild cards. That's even trickier. I'm going to say Vikings.
Yep.
Oof. 6th one's tough.
I know, because you start getting into when you're that deep into the play, that could be a team that sneaks in late, a team that wins 4 or 5 games late in the season.
I got to keep in mind, though, every year there's 2 or 3 teams that don't make it again, though.
It's true. I am also going to go Rams.
Yeah.
It's hard. I'm going to go Saints. I don't like the Eagles, but I do think they're the best team in that division, so we'll go Eagles too. I'm not copying you, I promise. I think the Vikings... I think the Vikings are going to win the division. And then my wild card is going to be Packers.
Wait a minute. Wait.
And
20 minutes ago. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
20 minutes ago, you said you weren't sure if they're going to make the playoffs. Now you got to win another division? Let's make up your mind here, huh?
Well, all I'm saying is, I'm not saying it's a must-win game. But if they lose, it is going to be very difficult for them to make the playoffs. If they lose against Philadelphia this coming weekend.
But you haven't won in the division.
Well, yeah, because they're going to beat Philadelphia, and then everything's going to be fine. I think they're going to lose New Orleans. I think they're going to lose to New England. But I think they're going to make the playoffs, and I think they're going to win the division. I just don't think – I think Chicago's not as good as they look right now, and I think the Packers' defense is later on in the season going to be banged up, and they're going to be garbage. Aaron Rodgers is great, but I don't think he can save them from how bad their defense is going to look after they have a couple of injuries.
I got my sixth team right now.
Who did?
And it's a team that is starting to look a little bit like last year's Minnesota Vikings.
Who?
The Chicago Bears.
Oh,
Six.
yeah,
Final wild card team. Chicago Bears. Mark it down.
All right. Quarter.
Look at their defense.
Prediction. Dude, have you seen that stat? That Khalil Mack stat. He has a forced fumble in every game this season. Think about that.
That's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. Like, that is like outrageous. That's not even real. That's like, those are video game stats. You don't get, that doesn't happen.
All Trubisky's got to do is put up Keenum numbers, and they're in the playoffs with that defense.
It's true.
They got to score 20, 21, 22, 23 points a game, and they're going to win more than they lose with that defense.
I can't argue with that. I have a tough time. I just don't think I think he eventually gets. I think defenses start to disguise stuff better and will be able to trick him. I think they will force bad throws out of him later on, and I think it's going to cost them games. I just don't think they're going to be able to win enough games with him to make the playoffs. But I wouldn't be shocked if they made the wild card. I mean, that's a fair prediction.
I think they will at 9-7.
I'm going to write down 9-7 too. Okay, quarter
maybe 10-6. It depends on if we sweep them or not.
Is today the 1st of October? Yes. 10, 1, 18. All right, I'm saving these, and we are going to come back to these predictions later. I had the Falcons in the wild card. They don't look very good right now, and you didn't say anything about that. But we ran out of time for this week. Sorry, Mike, no reply.
We're done, huh?
Yeah, we've been going for almost an hour, 57 minutes and 27 seconds. Before we leave, I wanted to tell everybody listening, if there's anyone listening, to follow Mike on Twitter. What is your Twitter handle, Mike? It's Kirk Cousins Arm, at Kirk Cousins Arm. God, it doesn't get much better than that for Twitter handles. You can follow me on Twitter at Tyler Haig _, because the regular at Tyler Haig has never tweeted, and they will not give me that name, and it makes me crazy. So find us on Twitter. No big deal. I'm not mad about it at all. It's fine. They just don't switch usernames, so I've sent them messages.
They should purge them though and unleash the unused ones.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah, man. It would just be a big deal for me to get that. If you're listening, Twitter would like to be verified too. It's whatever. No big deal. Make sure you follow Mike at Kirk Cousins Arm. And me at Tyler Haig _. That is just, it's a perfect name. All right. Thank you for joining us, Mike. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you tomorrow at work, but I'll see you next week on the radio.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, buddy. Take her easy. Peace.
See ya.